Be the goal. There's nothing outside of you that's more important than what's inside of you. And we've all been taught the golden rule. And I'm telling you, that's a great rule, but you need to put your oxygen mask on first. You need to take care of yourself first, and then you can go love your neighbor.
Step into the world of success with Your Brand Amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. Who doesn't want a 24-karat life?
Amen.
Yeah, my next guest is Derick Gant, and he is teaching people how to have just that. Derick, I'm so excited to have you on Your Brand Amplified. We're in Q4 of 2024 right now. People are looking at their finances. They're trying to figure out, are they going to donate money for the end of the year? Can they afford to? Or do they need to look for a new job? How much do they have in savings? What do they want to spend for holidays? And so this episode, I believe, is coming at the perfect time. So Thank you first and foremost for being here. And I'm really excited to hear about your background. You've been in investment advising and financial advising your entire career. What got you started with being interested in the money and the hustle?
That is a great question that nobody asks, and it's really funny. So I started off in retail. I graduated college. You're in college, you're interviewing, and all your friends are getting jobs. And so you're like, I got to get a job. I can't be the loser who doesn't get a job. And I was offered a job by this retail company. And I was working my hind parts off. If you work in retail, you know that you work your hind parts off. And so as a manager, you might work 12-hour shifts, especially during the holiday season, because people are coming in and buying housewares and Christmas gifts and clothes and all the things that make life go round. And after the first holiday season, I was like, this is insane. And as soon as the holiday season was over, you have to do inventory. Doing inventory is the most painful thing I think I've ever done. And so as I was circling around the next holiday season, being the nice guy that I am, I was the assistant manager, offered the store manager to go get her car, wipe off all the snow, clean it off, warm it up, and bring it up to the curb because she was wearing heels and a dress and all the things. Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Derick. Will you do that for me? But this woman was a slob. And so in her car, she had every pay stub that I think she ever got. And they were just on the floor and all around her car. It was really weird, but you can't help but look, right? You want to know what you're going to be making in 3-4 years when you're the store manager at a big retail store. This particular store was one of the flagship stores. You're like, oh, cool. Let me see what I'm going to make. So I looked at her pay stub and I was instantly depressed. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You work this many hours and that's what you're going to make when you're really in charge. And of course I knew what I was making, and I did the math on what she was making, and I did the quick math on the year's difference. And I'm like, oh no, this doesn't work for me. And so right after that holiday season, I began to look for other opportunities and other jobs. And when you go job hunting, at least back in the day, you're going into the newspaper because we didn't have the internet back then. You're going to the newspaper, you're talking to family and friends. And it just so happened that this one family friend never looked like he was working. He was always at my mom and dad's house having lunch. He was hanging out for hours on end. And you're like, dude, what do you do? Because he had the best house, the best car, picture perfect family in our little network of individuals. And you're like, whatever it is you're doing, that's what I want to do. And it turns out he was a financial consultant. And I talked to him and he brought me in to interview, and I interviewed really well. And of course I got the job, and then yada, yada, 35 plus years later, I'm still doing it.
Amazing. I love that you realized that if you went down this path that you thought was the right path, that you weren't going to reach the goals that you had set forth for yourself and where you saw your life going, and that you were able to make this transition. What was it like making that transition? Did you find it? Because I know as an advisor, don't you have a lot of tests you have to take, a lot of research you have to do?
Yes. It was eye-opening. I would say that you are fresh out of college, and I had only worked in this retail store for about a year. So, relatively still fresh out of college, used to taking tests, used to studying. I had been interviewing the year before. So, you're kind of used to the interview process. So, all that stuff is still fresh and green, and your brain is still elastic and all the things. And yes, you do have to take a bunch of tests. But what they did with me and everyone that they brought in is that you started off with like the insurance side of the financial services. So you took those tests. And then a year later, I took the investment side of the test. And they were difficult. But again, once you're in that mode, it kind of wasn't unbearable. I actually scored extremely well. I was a student athlete, but when I went into college, I was an athlete student. And so I got injured in college playing football. I kept playing, but I knew I wasn't going to go any further than college. So I started studying and becoming like I said, becoming a student athlete. And so it was intense, but it really wasn't that much more intense. It was just another subject that you had to learn and pass like you would a college course. And it was actually better than a college course because you could do this in a month or less or two compared to a whole semester of coursework and classes and all those type of things. So I locked in and I did really well and knocked that out. The transition, the interesting part of the transition was that being an investment advisor or a financial consultant at the time was 100% commission. So it was giving you a paycheck. And at the retail store, the human resources called me one day and they said, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I said, "Everything's great." And I said, "What's going on?" They go, "Well, you haven't cashed a paycheck in like 60 days.
Oh,
And I'm like, "Oh, I just got them stacked up." Well, I was, because I was 21. I was living at home and I wasn't a spender. So I was just stacking these checks up. They're like, "Will you please cash the last four paychecks, please?" And I was like, "Oh, for sure." So then you go from that to not knowing really what your paycheck's going to be. And you had to go out and, it was a hunter-gatherer type thing. You only ate or got paid when you got a new client. So that was more the transition than anything. It was not having the certainty of a paycheck.
wow. Yeah. And how hard was it to get those first clients in the door? Because you're young, people are probably looking at you like,
Yeah.
do you have this experience? Do you know
Yeah.
how to advise me? You
Yeah.
might, you know.
This is the cool part about podcasts because you can look back and you can tell the unadulterated truth, and maybe it'll help some people and maybe it won't. But the first thing that I would answer to that was it was difficult because you expect that all of your family and friends are going to be like, "Wow, you're in this high profile position. We're going to work with you. Here's our checkbook. Take care of our financial life." But just like you said, it was the complete opposite. It was like, "Dude, you're green. You don't know anything. Your parents aren't giving you anything. And they know you as the idiot that was just done playing football and playing cards with your buddies all night." And so that part was a little difficult. From the retail job, I had already figured out that this is the part about the unadulterated truth. I had already figured out that you had to do certain things to overcome that. So when I was 21, I was wearing a wedding ring. My dad was a plumber and he couldn't wear his wedding ring for work because it would get caught on things and he could rip a finger off, and he just didn't wear jewelry. So I wore his wedding ring and I didn't wear glasses at the time. I do now, and I would put on I got a pair of clear glasses. You won't believe the difference between how people treated me, still looking young, but with glasses on and a wedding ring. Completely different. And that was in the retail side. So on the investment side, of course, I kept the ring, I kept the glasses, but then I had to get creative on my experience. So what I did was I actually started in November of 1989, so everybody can date me. So 1989 is when I started. So in January, February, March, when I was meeting potential clients, they of course would go, "Well, how long have you been doing this?" And I would say 2 years. And they were like, "Oh, okay, go ahead." And now, in all honesty, it had been 4 months, but I'd say 2 years. And if they were to ask me, I was going to be honest and say 89 and 90. And so those are the 2 years that I've been doing this. And so, but just putting people at ease on that part. And the other part, of course, is that I didn't go into these meetings alone like I know everything. I always took a senior advisor with me in order to soothe their rational uncertainty about this young kid giving them financial advice.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that you used these different techniques to figure out, how to gain trust.
Mhm.
And you weren't using it in a negative way. You weren't trying to gain people's trust to then cheat them, steal, lie. You just, elevated the truth a little bit in those two
Had to
years.
get over that catch 20. It was a catch 22 that I had to get over. I mean, no one said, "Are you married?" They just assumed I was married. No one said, "Do you really need glasses?" They just assumed I needed glasses. And no one ever asked me about the 2 years. They just said, "Oh, okay, great." So, and again, you're 1,000% right. My heart was pure, and the services that we delivered as financial advisors and consultants was spot on, and people benefited from it. And believe it or not, I still have those same clients, some of those same clients today.
Amazing. That's so fantastic. So you built up your business, you've been in it. What made you realize there was something else that you needed to bring into the world and to
Yeah.
help people and maybe with the finances, but also with beyond?
Yeah. So, I believe that we all, and maybe not all, but I think most people that are actively pursuing the best version of themselves have a nagging little thing inside of them that they have known since they were teenagers about what they were supposed to be doing in the world. Maybe it was helping people, maybe it was fixing things, maybe, so it could be a variety of things. I always knew that I wanted to help people any way that I was capable of helping people. And now that I was in the financial world and we were, selling insurance and providing investments and those type of things, one of the things that I learned very, very early was that insurance people think insurance is the answer to every ailment, right? Oh, your kid, you need to prepare for your kid to go to college. Buy this life insurance policy and put some money in it and overfund it. And then one day you'll have enough money that you can pull out and help your kid go to college. Oh, you have a toothache? Let's get you some insurance. And at least if you die from an infection, your family will go on and live fine. But it literally, their mindset is that it's the answer to every problem. And in my heart, I knew it wasn't true. And so also with the investment part, it was, people didn't want to talk about insurance. They want to talk about investing. But people that had money, they gave me hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars. They asked the fewest questions. The people that gave me $500 would grill me forever. And so what I realized is that it's a severe lack of knowledge, not trust, of knowledge. And so I knew that the people who had $500 didn't have the same habits. They didn't have the same mindset. They didn't have the same intention as the people who were giving me hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And so I wanted to share with people who didn't have resources the tools and techniques the people with resources were using as a natural form of daily operation to become who they were. I wanted to transfer that to the people who didn't have resources. And it's not a far stretch being, a Black male in America, that predominantly Black males in America are either incarcerated
Oh,
or they're working their hind parts off. They don't have any savings. And let's forget race. We can Google what percent of working Americans have $500 or more in their checking or savings account. And the
yeah.
answer is only 85% of people do not have $500 or more in their checking or savings account,
Yikes.
meaning that
Yeah.
they get paid and then it goes right out. So that also means that 85% are living check to check, which means that if they miss the next check, it is pandemonium, which is why the pandemic was so scary for so
Mhm.
many people. If they didn't get a stimulus check or if they didn't keep working, so if their company shut down from the pandemic, like service industry people, it was hell to pay because
You
they
know,
didn't have any savings. And so I knew from my early experiences and paying close attention and wanting more for myself that I could clearly see the distinction between the haves and the have nots. And it wasn't the money, it was the daily activity, it was the daily actions, it was the intent, it was the focus. And so, people without money are focused on how can I get this next pair of Jordans, when people with money are like, I don't really need a pair of Jordans.
Oh, I also think there's a key market. I think this case study on your website, a woman, maybe a relative who was married to somebody in the service. And so she was essentially being a single mom for long stretches of time. I think back to my own life of I didn't grow up with a lot, but when I was married, right, I married somebody who had a really good job, privately
Mhm.
held company, saved, didn't have to think about money. And those habits then transform you. And then if you get divorced and you don't have a good prenup or,
Right.
you're not in a state that's going to put you
Protects
in the
you.
same lifestyle, perhaps, it takes a while. It takes years to unwind those money habits
Right.
and realize I don't have this discretionary income anymore. I need to save. Or, and even when you
Uh,
get into work, getting back into working, because this is what happened to me. I was one of those people, smug married. I'm never going to get divorced. I don't need to ask about finances. And
mhm.
then it took me quite a while to figure out, like, okay, I can't spend, I can't be at this level again. That doesn't mean I'm not who I am, but I don't need to show these trappings to this group of people that I used to be with. If you
Right.
don't want to be my friend anymore because of that, then they're not really my friend.
Exactly.
And you have to get humble and really realize who you are. But this is where services like yours, I think, come in really handy. There's so many situations that people go through.
It's incredible. And the scenario you just painted, I can't begin to tell you how many clients I begged, I pulled, I pleaded, because that scenario was so incredibly real. And I don't mean before the divorce, I mean like during and after the divorce. It was like, look, how many kids do you have? Okay, when's the youngest one turning 18? Because that's when that money stops. When's your alimony going to stop? Okay, let's act like it doesn't exist and let's hold on to that and go get some work and employment and let's stop going to every Toby Keith concert or whatever his name is. Because these clients would get on a plane and follow this guy around because they
Oh,
loved
wow.
him. They go to the same guy's concert 3, 4 times a year because that was the lifestyle that they had before. Christmas was outrageous because that's what they did before. I'm like, we can't have Christmas like that
Hmm.
more. And so now it's a matter of preventive maintenance. So now when people are married, it's like, look, at the very minimum, if we meet monthly, let's meet the whole family. Let's have a company meeting. I call it company meetings,
Hmm.
where the husband, the wife, and our team, we get together at least once a quarter. You don't have to be at every meeting, but how about at least you know what's going on?
Yeah.
So you're so right about that. And believe it or not, that scenario with my cousin, it was my cousin, and she's married to a guy who was in the service and he's worked for the Pentagon and everything he did was hush hush and he'd be gone forever. And she had 2 boys. I had 2 boys. And so what that scenario led me to understand was that it was overwhelming for single moms. I was married, and so there was 2 of us, but it was overwhelming for single moms to do the soccer, to do the piano, to do karate, to do school, to do homework. And she needed some help. And what she allowed to let go was the finances.
Mm.
And so when I ask her, well, how can I help? Above and beyond picking the boys up on the weekends so they can go get that male energy out of their system, you needed help with her finances. And so that's how we started our second company, because we had an investment company, but we started a second company to help people manage their finances and understand systematically how to do it at a base level with some base habits that are very, very powerful to get you to still keep you on track to the other side.
Yeah. And so what does that look like? What do you do? How do you help people with finances? Are they coming to you and just putting it on the line? And then you're saying, here's some things, some small changes you can make.
First of all, if you truly want to be successful, you have to lay it all on the line. So let's say, for instance, we weren't talking about money. Let's say we're talking about fitness. If you're going to hire a fitness trainer and not tell him that you eat a bag of Lay's potato chips at 3 o'clock every day, but he's got you eating healthy every other meal, you're cheating him, you're cheating yourself, and it's not going to work. So yeah, we have them lay it all on the line. And unfortunately, most of the people that work with us have gotten to a point to where they are willing, that things are so bad, they have to lay it all out because we're saving their house, we're saving the car, we're getting their credit fixed. But how it works is that people do not have a money system. Most people's, well, I shouldn't say that. They have a money system, but it's like whoever's screaming the loudest is who I'm going to pay. And that's not a healthy money system. So what we do is they lay it all on the line. We stop the bleeding because there is a process. So you have to You have to identify everything. So full disclosure. So I call it taking inventory. And then once we take inventory, we have to stop the bleeding. So that means that any and all excess spending, there's people who are struggling check to check and they have HBO, they have Stars, they have Showtime, they do pay-per-view, you're like, okay, you're spending $300 a month on TV. And if you're watching that much TV while you're losing your house, you're nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. You're nuts. And so we stop the bleeding. We don't tell people that they're nuts, but we say, look, we need to freeze anything that's not essential. So we go to the essentials and then we begin to rebuild. And our rebuilding is making sure that we attack the debt, that we attack living check to check. And so we put them in an actual money system. One of the biggest parts of our money system that I'm happily will share for any listener is that you have to separate church and state. So the church is your personal bills and the state is your personal spending. Bills, and then there's spending because your car note doesn't change. Your mortgage or your rent changes very infrequently. The cable, the lights, the water, the heating, all that stuff is within a range. So what really changes is your spending habits, not, we live in a microwave society where I need instant gratification now. Amazon will deliver that stuff now, right? I've ordered some stuff recently. They delivered it the same day. I'm like, oh my God, right? It's already at the door. And so what that does for us is it allows us to freely spend more money because we can get whatever needs we met or wants we need met like instantly. And so you just keep doing it. And all of a sudden you figure out, I haven't even opened that package that I ordered, 2 weeks ago. It's still sitting on the kitchen table. I obviously didn't need it. And so that's what we do. We implement a money system.
Nice. And you started that in 2000?
No, 2000, we went out on our own in the investment universe.
Okay.
I broke off from the traditional company and we started on our own. We started, believe this or not, we started this portion of the money system in 2007, which was 1 year before the toilet, the economy hit the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And what happened was our clients with a lot of money start going, hey, my kids' mortgage, they had this adjustable rate mortgage. It's starting to go upside down. Their house is underwater or they're having trouble. And I started getting more and more of these requests. And we didn't have a system in place to provide solutions that weren't like unbearably expensive because that's what planners do. We charge fees for a plan, thousands of dollars. And so I sat back and figured out a way to deliver these services without breaking the client because they're already in hot water financially. They can't afford to pay, thousands of dollars for a solution. And then I also figured out that I have been helping people all along, like people that weren't clients, because let's say someone came to me and they go, hey, Derick, you're the money guy in our area and I was referred to you and I want to work with you. And they come in and they say, I got $500 to invest. And you're like, yeah, I can't do anything with $500. So instead of being mean and saying, hey, I can't invest $500, I would say something like, well, how much can you invest a month? And they had no idea. So we put them on a budget. And then I'd say, what would you be happy if you had $1,000 at the end of 12 months of our advice? Absolutely. But they wanted the sexy part, which was the investing. But the answer was save $100 a month, right? Or maybe save $50 a month. And on top of the 500 that you have, you'll have 1,000. That wasn't sexy to them. And so it was very hard for people to do it. So my point is that when we started giving this advice, like in 2000, we weren't charging for it. I just didn't want to be mean to people and go, hey, you're broke. I can't help you. So I'm going to give you the next best thing and help you figure out how to get on track. So in 2007, 8, when we started this business, I really went back and go, well, because part of the conversation in 2000 was do this, this, and this, and then come back and see me, and I'll tell you what's next. No one ever came back. I had 2 women come back. 2 women. No men, 2 women came back during the course of those 8 years, and they said, I did what you said, now what? You're like, oh my God, you really did what I said? I mean, like, no one's come back. So I had to analyze why no one came back. And what I concluded was that no one came back because between the time I gave them the generic plan, the advice, and today, life happened. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
given the plan. They weren't planning on getting married, or they weren't planning on having a kid, or they weren't planning on losing their job. So life happened. So that led me to the idea that, well, people need somebody to walk them through this process, to continuously help them make better decisions or the right decisions along the way. And that's when we started our money coaching program, which is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So it took a little bit to make that realization. And then he created the program. What was it like from then? Because obviously you talked about that was right when the economy tanked, housing, all of that stuff. We've seen that happen a couple more times. But now how do you systemize it? Who's your ideal client, if there is one? And then what are the different components that you work on? Because I know it goes beyond the
Yes.
money.
So in 2007, 2008, when the market crashed, the interesting part of the conversation is that we started this in '07. The market crashed in '08. That lasted 2 or 3 years before real estate started to bounce back and things started to clean up a little bit. So my investment income also started to tank because I am a fee-based consultant, which means I get paid a fee on the value of my clients' accounts. So if their accounts dip, then my income dips. And even if their accounts don't dip because we did a good job of managing and stabilizing them, they still were taking, because my clients are retired, they're still taking monthly distributions. So my pay is still dipping. So it just so happened that when we started this other business, it neutralized the dip over here. So we were able to stay here from a personal perspective or a personal business perspective. But what we found out was that there was just a vast amount of people that just didn't know how to manage their impulses. They didn't know how to manage their finances. They really didn't want to. There's a big evil giant out there telling you, get a credit card. Don't worry if you don't make enough money. You'll be fine. You need this new TV. You need this new phone. So we were fighting that. And we really weren't fighting. We were really educating and helping people to prioritize and distinguish between needs and wants. So this became bigger. So what we actually did was I had two staffs. I had a staff that was my investment staff, and I had a different staff that was helping people with the money system. And, so we got to the point to where, it's now 2024. This was 2008, and I'm ready to kind of land my plane, so to speak. And so we stopped taking investment clients about 5 years ago, and we just manage the clients that we have. And then we continue to bring clients in on the other side. However, we did have a huge number of clients that they couldn't, for whatever reason, prioritize. They couldn't stop the spending. So they hired us we paid their bills. We did their savings. We got them debt free. We helped them fix their credit. So we actually did all this, and we would just report to them every month. We would have a monthly meeting. This is what's happening with your paycheck. And I hate to say it this way, but we ended up giving them an allowance. So every week we give them an allowance for their hair, their nails, the gasoline, the groceries, the kids' clothes, medical, visits, doctor's visits, copays. So we did that. About 4 or 5 years ago, I decided I didn't like that either. It's not that I didn't like it, but as you decide to start landing your plane, you don't want the responsibility because people are depending on you with the second most important thing of their life. Number one is their loved ones, and number two is their money.
Yeah.
And so then I started the 24K Life. I wrote a book called the 24K Life Code, and it teaches people that they need a code to live by. And the code goes beyond money. It goes with your health. It goes with your spirituality. It goes with your money. So the code covers everything. And it's not my code. It's you need a code. Here's how I set mine up. Here's all the tools to figure out what yours should be. But you need a code of honor to live by. Just like in the military, they have a code of honor. Just like the police, they have a code of honor. Just like, religious people are supposed to have a code of honor. And so the 24K Life is about setting up your own personal code of honor that will create excellence in your life, that will create your best life, and that will enhance your own personal self-mastery and value. My favorite tagline is master your mind and you will always be free. And so what we've done over the last 5 years is we said, we don't want to personally do this. We want to teach you to do it. And hopefully you do it and you live by it. And what we find is that some people do and some people don't. The ones that do are amazingly happy, and because they're in control of their selves, they're in control of their diet, they're in control. So one of my favorite little lines is people might come and they go, my God, you're 58 years old. You look like you're 35 years old. How do you stay fit? How do you, and you're just like, I live by a code. I don't miss more than 2 days of working out in a row. And so, so people says, well, can you help me? I want to lose some weight. And I say, you want to lose some weight? They go, yeah. I say, okay, well, skip lunch. Skip lunch. Skip lunch. And they're like, well, what's that going to do? Oh, you'll lose some weight. If you skip lunch, you'll be a little bit lighter than you were yesterday. And they're like, I'm like, because it's ambiguous. You can't say I want to lose some weight. Do you want to be a size 5? Or I know that's not, you can tell I'm a guy. There's no 5. Want to be a size 6? Do you want to be a size 12? Do you want to be a size 4? Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want to lose 20 pounds? You have to be more intentional in your life. And so people say, I want to be happy. Okay, well, go to a comedy movie, but that's not going to be the solution. Do you really want to have happiness spring from within eternally? Okay, well, then there's some things you need to do, and let's get at it. We show them how to do these things in the book. And then in real life, we help them in our coaching practice. We help them to find the solutions, not just themselves. We provide people. So we have a community, 24K Life community. And inside our community, we have life coaches, we have fitness coaches, we have nutritional coaches. Of course, I'm the money coach inside our community. And so we bring in other experts that will help people figure out what they're struggling with. Like I was struggling with the difference between religion and spirituality 3-4 years ago. And so I hired a spiritual coach, and we spent 6 months, and like, boom, it was like, wow, like I spent my entire life in the church doing religion, but I've only spent the last 3 years of my life doing spirituality, and so much more freeing, so much more connected with not only God, but other people, because it's a spiritual experience. So that's what we've done. That's what we do. Today, we're really big on helping people understand. I wear this little band that says, be the gold. And it's like to help people understand that you are the prize. Like whatever society's offering you is great. It's grand. But if you're not confident, if you're not whole, if you're not seeking a higher level of understanding, then you're going to succumb to whatever the political arena is, whatever the financial arena is, whatever other whims that people say that you should be focused on. You're going to fall for that if you don't have your own code.
Yeah. It's funny that so many people, including myself, right? We get into things where we think we're doing good work, but we don't realize that we've fallen into these trappings. Mm-hmm. And then you have to take a step back, and then you go, oh, this is who I really am. This is me being free to be the best person I can be, and what that looks like. Because I think, especially if somebody's been in a career for a long time, or they've been in a marriage, or whatever the situation, and then something happens where they get to the top of the food chain in their business, and they go, wait, this is great. I have money, but I don't have the other things. So you're not just talking about money. You're really talking about the whole self, your whole life.
Yes. You know what I ask people? And if you can't tell, I'm like sarcastic, and my humor is not humorous. It's really kind of daggering. So here's what I ask people. I say, okay, let me ask you a question. So there's 5 components. Our whole premise is built on 5 pillars. You have your mindset, you have your money, you have your health, you have your relationships, and you have your spirituality. Okay. So do you want money, but to be spiritually bankrupt? That doesn't work. Okay. So do you want spirituality? Do you want relationships? Do you want health? Do you want your money, but your mind is all messed up? Which one do you want to give up? And the answer is none. I'm screwed. If any of those things are way off, I'm done. And so it's like, do you want to be rich and fat where you can't go enjoy it? Or rich and unhealthy where you can't, my dad was 83. We took him on a cruise, and he loved being on the boat, but he couldn't get off the boat because he had gout. Right? He couldn't get off the boat to go to the little islands and the little things on. So he enjoyed it per se, but he couldn't really enjoy it because he didn't have his health. So yeah, that's what I ask people. Like, which one of those you want to give up? And the answer, of course, is none of them. Okay, well, you got some work to do.
Mm-hmm. So you have coaching, you have the book, you have a podcast, you have an app, you have a blog. You're really trying to pour into people holistically, however they come in, whether it's through their money, whether it's through their weight or health, spirituality, etc. What does the community look like and how has it impacted you?
You know, the community is really funny. The community is 97% women. And I've known this for a little while, but men think they got it all together. When they don't have it all together, they want to believe that they could have it all together if they wanted to. They just haven't decided to do it yet. So our community is predominantly women. They're predominantly women who are mothers, or are, when I say we're mothers, they're mothers, but maybe their kids are in or out of the house. They are looking for some support in the terms of, oh, you're going through that too, type thing. Oh, well, how did you fix it? Oh, you fix it that way. I'm going to try that. That sounds really interesting. So, like, through doing this podcast, I'm on your podcast, an amazing show. And you might interview somebody, like I interviewed somebody and I found out that you can take a magnesium pill for what magnesium is supposed to do for you, but you're only getting 5% of what magnesium is supposed to do. But if you take it and put it on topically, you can get 85% of what it's supposed to do, like, inflammation or whatever else magnesium is supposed to help you with. And by having these conversations inside the community and as well as doing on the podcast, we can help each other because no one person has all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I promise you that. And I know it might be a little weird for a guy to say that, but
Refreshing.
yeah, but no one has all the answers and we all need each other. Hence my spiritual coaching that I took. We all need each other. It's until you wake up and realize that you need each other. So our community operates best when we're doing a challenge. Like the challenge that we're doing right now and that we've done the last couple times is a 90-day challenge. And what it is you have to read for 20 minutes. You have to work out 5 out of 7 days for at least 30 minutes. And working out means raising your heart rate. So you could go for a walk. You could, go lift weights. You could do whatever. It consists of 20 minutes of meditation or prayer or quiet time. You can sit outside, listen to the birds. That's fine. That counts. You have to have a meal plan, whatever it is, not our meal plan, but whatever your meal plan is. So we're forcing people to think about their life.
Yeah.
What they need to elevate their life. You have to get in a certain amount of steps, not dictated by us, dictated by you. So like for me, when I first did the first challenge, I didn't realize I was only getting 1,800 steps a day. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh my God, that's it. And you're like, yeah, but that's what it was because I was sitting at my desk all day long. So like for me, my goal is 5,000 steps. And most people go, oh my God, you need to get 10,000 steps to be healthy. Oh, let me help you. First of all, I'm healthy. Second of all, going from 1,800 to 5,000 is work. I'm on the path of being better, and that's all we people to do is be on the path. So our community, if you could imagine Facebook in a private community. Mm-hmm. So we encourage people to post their wins, their losses. They post pictures of their vacations, their family. It's also like Twitter. So you can post a tweet there, or not a tweet. You can post something that says, it's a great day today. I hope you all are winning. Inside our community, our members can talk to each other like one-on-one, or they can talk to the entire community. Of course, what I've learned about it, because you asked me, what did I learn? I learned that I thought I knew what hard work was, but it like just keeps starting over, right? So it was hard work playing football in college, being an athlete student. Then it was hard work to say, okay, I want to be a student athlete. Then it was hard work working those 12-hour shifts. Then it was hard work doing the insurance and the investment stuff. And then it was hard work starting 2 different companies. And now this thing it's hard work. So I want a community, and it's not just going to poof because I think this is an amazing idea. So I have to be the first community member. I have to post. I have to share. I have to, be the thing that I want to see. So be the change that you want. So I have to be that. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't think I wanted to do that. This is what I thought I wanted to do. But I know it's the right thing to do. And I know that it's going to be an amazing thing to do. Right now it's less than 100 members. I want thousands. So that takes work. And so that's the work that we're doing right now. So we're managing our investment clients. We're still managing some of our what we call our money method clients. And I'm building the community. So that's the work.
Fantastic. Yeah. And it sounds like your group is so intentional because we all probably belong to a lot of different groups for different things that we do, whether it's on Facebook or at some other system. And so many of them, it's usually just the person who started it posting. You don't have this interaction, goal setting, right? And really sharing, but also having your own goals, having that be what you celebrate. It's not that you have to achieve what somebody else is achieving. So I really appreciate that transparency, that authenticity, that intentionality that you pour into this.
Yeah. You know, what I realized, I had a Facebook group years and years ago. We had like, I don't know, 600 people in this group. And we weren't doing, I swear to you, the worst thing that we said was make sure you get out to vote. That's the worst thing that we've ever said, right? So all of it was positive. We didn't even say who to vote, just go vote. Or we said, I actually honestly didn't even say that. So it was everything was positive. They shut the group down. I'm like,
Oh,
okay. And so what I decided at that moment was that master your mind, you'll always be free. So I can't let Facebook be my master. I can't let Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat. We need our own private group
100%.
where we're allowed to say whatever we want. And we're not Alex Joe. We don't go crazy. Everything is what I share it with you is 24K. It's all support. And that's why we did the private group. It also gives me an opportunity to have all of my content. So all of my content, we have money courses, we have goal setting courses, we have, how to set up a morning routine course. So we have all of our content inside this one hub where people can come in and they can get access to it. We have a free version and we have a paid version. The paid version, of course, gives you access to everything, and the free version gives you access to some of the things. So because we want everybody to win, I can't win without you. I can't win without you. And you can't win without me. And of course, I'm not saying you and me specifically, but we need other to grow. And, you're at USC and you're doing your thing and you have so many things, you're nonprofit, you have your hand in so many things that's amazingly to help other people. And we all have our gifts and our specialty. And our job is just to be great at what our little gifts are. Because I can't do you and you can't do me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're definitely going to be in touch. I want to leave a little bit for the audience to explore your website. And they're going to derickgant.com where you can see all the tools, all the resources, listen to the podcast, figure out how to join the group. This has been such an uplifting conversation today, Derick. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time coming, and this is exactly what we need for the end of the year. This time, we are recording this before the election. This is going to come out right around or maybe slightly after the election. We know that no matter what happens, there's going to be a lot of positive, but also a lot of negative. And what we need is to put more positivity, more community into the world. And that is exactly what you're bringing to us. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. And no matter who wins, just love each other.
Yes, please.
It's the best to love each other. If I treat you like I treat my sister, we're going to be in great shape.
100%. You've given us a lot of great quotes, inspirational mottos. Do you have one final verse, quote, family motto, mantra that you want to close us out with?
I'm going to repeat one of them because it just is so important. Be the goal. There's nothing outside of you that's more important than what's inside of you. And we've all been taught the golden rule. And I'm telling you, that's a great rule, but you need to put your oxygen mask on first. You need to take care of yourself first, and then you can go love your neighbor.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show. And thank you to everybody who's watching or listening to this episode and gaining a little bit more inspiration for your day, your business, and your life to get through whatever challenge you're going through. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrandamplified.com.